What's the story, lads? Welcome back to Gaelic Games Fan TV. Kerry 218, Tyrone 12 points. What an absolutely sensational performance from the Kingdom, and a brilliant performance from Kerry in general. I mean, certainly a result I did not see coming. I said in my prediction show during the week with Seamus Brady of on Cliff, obviously, as it is now. And I was saying, Kerry winning certainly wouldn't have surprised me, even though I predicted Tyrone. Like, as I said, this game could have really went either way, I felt, coming into it. But one thing I did not predict was for Kerry to be so good and Tyrone to be so poor. First of all, you have to give a huge amount of credit to Kerry. I mean, in the first half, it was very even though Kerry led by 3 points at half time. It was probably only really towards the end of the first half where they started to really pull away from Tyrone with 3 points on the bounce just before half time. But it was fairly even. There wasn't really much between both sides. I felt like both sides it was very cagey. Both sides were keeping the ball for large parts and not really asking enough questions of each other's defence. Kerry were the side who obviously went in 3 points in front of half time, deservedly so. They took more chances and ultimately were that bit better in the first half. But then in the second half, you were thinking, which team wants this more? Which team is going to come out and really go for it? Because you were looking at it and thinking, the game is definitely in the balance here, but one of these two really needs to ask more questions and go for it. And in fairness, the answer was Kerry. They 100% went for it. And they were sharper, they were quicker, better on kickouts, winning the 50-50 battles. Sean O'Shea, outstanding, a goal and 5 points from him. Midfield, we talked a lot coming into this game about Tyrone having the better midfield and being better in and around the middle of the park, but you have to give Kerry credit. They were better in that area. Jeremy O'Connor scored a goal and 2 points, and they were far better. And the turnovers were key as well. They led Tyrone into far too many traps, and it was comfortable. It was comfortable in the end in that second half from a Kerry perspective. I think they score 1-4, 1-5 without reply at the start of the second half. Tyrone didn't score their first point in the second half until the 53rd minute, and that was a free from Darren McCurry. It was very, very comfortable from Kerry at the start of the second half, and Tyrone just did not have an answer whatsoever. And look, fair play to Kerry. I predicted Tyrone, obviously, coming into the game, 100% got it wrong. So, any Kerry fans who want to give me stick, you are, you rightly so, because I 100% got it wrong, and fair play. They were very, very good. And, this kind of reminded me a little bit of Kerry Dublin 2009, where, Kerry had looked a little flat coming into that game. And, a lot of people were writing Kerry off and saying that, Dublin were going to turn them over and everything else. And Kerry just completely demolished Dublin from start to finish. And this wasn't quite like that. This wasn't as much of a beating as that. But the second half, it was just game over, And for me, Tyrone just did not ask any questions at all once Kerry, built up a lead and went 7, 8, 9 points in front. Even after Kerry hit the opening 3 points of the second half, Tyrone just did not have an answer. And they took Rory Canavan off on the 45th minute, which I was very surprised by, because I thought he was very, very good in the first half for Tyrone. That dummy, he sold one of the Tyrone defenders and popped it over. Absolutely sensational stuff. I think it was Rory Canavan. I was at the game, so forgive me if I got that wrong, but that was a wonderful dummy to pop that one over the bar. That was brilliant stuff. And I thought he was Tyrone's most lively attacking forward. And for him to go off, as I said, I was at the game, so I don't know if that was an injury or what that was, but that was a little bit surprising to me to see him go off, considering the game that he had. Very surprised by that. But yeah, Tyrone just didn't, and even after Jeremy O'Connor gets his goal and, they're 7 or 8 points down, the game wasn't gone, but Tyrone just didn't ask any questions. They should have started floating more balls into the square or just play with a bit more energy. There was a lack of effort, a lack of intensity, and Kerry just embarrassed them all over the pitch, in my opinion. It was far too easy. Kerry could have got more goals towards the end of that, missed a couple of chances as well. David Clifford with that chance right at the death. This could have been, it finished, a 12-point win for Kerry? This could have been 15 or 16. This was very, very comfortable stuff from Kerry in the second half. And the fact that there was only 3 points in it at half time, very poor stuff from a Tyrone perspective. Was expecting a lot more from them, in all honesty. They're by far a better team than what they showed out on the pitch, in my opinion. But they just weren't at it at all. And, unfortunately for Tyrone, at the best of times, really, since they won that All-Ireland 2 years ago, when the goings got tough, they very rarely have had an answer. Do you know that way? Like they've beaten, look, fair enough, they've beaten Kerry a couple of times in the league and they've had a few good wins here and there. Obviously, the win versus Donegal last week was impressive. But when they've gone behind, 4 or 5 points, they haven't had the knack of turning it around. And to be honest with you, what we've seen from Tyrone in 2021 against Kerry in that semi-final, which was so effective, was the fact that Tyrone broke with pace. They had energy. They'd fight. They had a huge amount of effort all around the field. There was none of that today. Like when they got the ball, they just kept it, weren't asking any questions, playing within their shell, trying to get the Canavans on the ball, trying to get Darren McCurry on the ball. And if those two weren't on the ball, Tyrone had no options. Like even looking at their scores, like Canavan, Dara Canavan with 2, Rory Canavan with 2, Matty Donnelly with a point, Darren McCurry with 4, Michael McKiernan with a point. Cathal McShane, who came on, did score 2 points and showed some bright sparks. And it was good to see him back and obviously looking like himself again. But again, Tyrone just didn't have any options at all. And, Kerry, in fairness, were excellent defensively. Gavin White was very good. Shane Ryan was very impressive as well for Kerry, I felt. Caught a lot of ball that went in around the square. Very commanding, made 1 or 2 saves as well. I thought he was impressive. Tom O'Sullivan, very good as well. Tyg Morley. And Jeremy O'Connor was sensational. And one thing we spoke about Kerry, obviously, coming into the game was that, will they have the options outside of David Clifford and Sean O'Shea? And for me, the answer was yes. Like Adrian Spillane with 2 points, Paul Gainey with a point, Jeremy O'Connor with 1-2, and even Stephen O'Brien, who came on, looked lively and got on the score sheet as well. So, Kerry are peaking at exactly the right time. And it goes to show, I suppose you don't need to be at your best for the entire season. You just need to be best at this time period, And look, Kerry will take some beating now. Does that put them now as All-Ireland favourites? I think it probably does, to be honest with you. To beat a team like Tyrone by 12 points, very, very commanding stuff. You think about it, one of Dublin Mayo will be gone tomorrow, one of Derry Cork, one of Armagh Monaghan, which is obviously half-time right now as well. So look, Kerry are serious and they will not go away and they will be there. They will be there or there or thereabouts. And I think it was a serious performance from them, in fairness. Porrick says, how are you? How's things, Porrick? Hope all is well. Rory says, Tyrone fell to pieces in the second half. Kerry were just on it today, I think. They were. They absolutely were. And that's the most important thing, isn't it? You need to get it right at this time of the season, at this time of the year. And Kerry did exactly that. And for Tyrone, is that a change in management now for their management, Fergal Logan and Brian Dooher? Is it time now for a change? I suppose for any Tyrone fans who are watching, let me know. As a neutral, I think it probably is. For a team that won the All-Ireland 2 years ago, for 2 years on the bounce, they haven't got beyond the last 8. And last year was very poor, wasn't it? Nearly got relegated. Played 4 championship games, lost 3 of them. Or played 3 championship games, lost 2 of them. So, and then this season, you look at it, could have very well got knocked out by Westmeath. I kind of look back and I think, why did we, back Tyrone so much coming into this? I think it was maybe the history between these two. Maybe it was the fact that Kerry have looked flat at times this year themselves and, haven't been overly brilliant before today, in my opinion, in a lot of their games. They haven't, this is their first big win, in my opinion, of this season. Whereas Tyrone in Croke Park against Kerry, they just have a habit of turning them over. But it wasn't the case today. It was not the case. Kerry by far a mile the better side, and they're going to take some beating now. They're going to take some beating. How much did David Clifford get? 5 points. 5 points is what he got, and he didn't score from play in the first half. I thought Padraig Hampsey did a great job on him, in fairness. And I thought, at half time, although Kerry were 3 points in front, I really did feel that Tyrone were they were still in it, and I thought the more the game stayed close, the more Tyrone would grow in confidence and the more maybe Kerry would open up and they'd be able to hit them more on the counter-attack. But that was not the case. That was not the case. Kerry played some lovely football today for the first time this year. Says Kieran, Tyrone average all season, established media responsible for bigging the fixture up and the rest bought it. Says Says Rommel. Yeah, like I mean, Kerry were the favourites, so like according to the bookies odds and everything else, like Kerry were the favourites. Now I have seen a lot of people predict Tyrone, obviously, including myself. But like Kerry did look flat coming into this game, though. Like, do you know that way? Like they hadn't beaten a big team this year, in my opinion. Like their 3 wins in the league all came against Monaghan, Armagh, and Roscommon. They were all at home. Like, and I don't think they played particularly brilliant against Armagh. They got over the line, same versus Monaghan in Munster. Like, can you judge that? I don't think you can. And then like they got beaten by Mayo comfortably, beat Cork, and then hammered Louth. Like it was hard to judge Kerry coming into this because they hadn't really looked great at all year, in my opinion. Whereas Tyrone, on the other hand side, had shown that, right, they can beat Armagh in a championship game, like not in an early league game. And they came through Donegal and they looked very good in doing so. And Dara Canavan was in great form. But look, that's what happens. That is what happens. And Kerry, in fairness, the Jack O'Connor teams of old, 2009 stands out. This was very similar. Like Kerry looking average enough all season, and then they get to Croke Park and they turn it on. And from a Kerry point of view, like they look bang on it. And I think for everyone else, for all the other contenders, whoever else is going to be in that semi-final draw, you do not want Kerry. And if Dublin is the team that's there as a Dublin fan, I certainly don't want Kerry. I certainly do not want them, but we'll have to wait and see. Porrick says David Clifford is some footballer. He is. He was brilliant in the second half. And that was the thing. Like it became more open for Kerry. Like Tyrone obviously had to chase the game more, and Kerry were able to take them apart and sort of cement their dominance. And crazy thing is watching that is I still think there's more in Kerry as well. I still think there's more in them. And I think that's the worrying point. That is the worrying point. Clifford only scored 5 points. It probably wasn't even his, vintage best performance. Do you know that way? So there's probably more even in this Kerry side. And brilliant stuff from them. Poor enough from Tyrone. Like I think back to the drawing board for them. Is that a change in management? Who comes in now? I don't really know. But I think too much inconsistency from that 2021 All-Ireland final. Too many players leaving the panel. You were even looking at it there, like the players they brought off the bench. I was just having a look on Score BO there. Like they brought Cathal McShane, O'Donnell, Aidan Clark, Frank Burns all on. And McShane made an impact, but the rest didn't. And I think that's the difference, isn't it? That is the difference really between this Tyrone team and the one of a couple of years ago. But yeah, let me know your thoughts, your opinions in the comments down below for those of you who didn't watch live. Obviously, Armagh versus Monaghan taking place right now. Will be live straight after that game. Obviously, Armagh, I think the game was level, I think, at halftime. So yeah, we'll definitely discuss that game after it finishes. I was at this game between Kerry and Tyrone. Great atmosphere in Croke Park. Certainly plenty of Kerry, of Armagh and Monaghan fans. Jeez, tons of Monaghan fans, which surprised me. I don't know why it surprised me, but it did surprise me. So many Monaghan fans definitely loving life on the hill. And hopefully for their sake, they get over the line against Armagh, but we'll wait and see what happens there. So yeah, we'll be going live after that game. There'll be a vlog, a match day vlog out for this game as well. Kerry Tyrone in a few days' time. So make sure you stay tuned for that on the channel. Fair play to Kerry and commiserations to Tyrone.